Hello and welcome to our second episode of Behind the Scenes at the Pawpet Show. We are here at the
Krefeld-Hohenbuttberg Cemetery.
Or Krefeld-Uerdingen Cemetery.
Not quite sure.
Yeah.
We basically came here to bury all the bad ideas.
It's the third script writing meeting, and what we are spending most of our time with today is fleshing out the backstory of several characters that we wrote to make sure they all have consistent motivations and they all have a good reason to be the persons they are. And so everything else we write makes sense and leads to a conclusion that also makes sense. Who is Xena Stillwater? Independent nations no longer exist. Earth is ruled by a central government. The planet is overpopulated and strict birth control is in place. Xena Stillwater is a young snow leopard who grew up in a foster family that has been serving the army for generations. She's brought up as a good patriot, and of course her father insists she joins the military too. She goes to military academy, believing that a powerful world government is necessary to enforce peace in the solar system. Going to space has been her lifelong dream, and she uses her military career to achieve it. Large corporations have begun to mine asteroids for minerals. As she pursues her career as a commissioned officer, her path leads her off-world to the mining colonies in the asteroid belt, where it's her job to supervise various Guardian missions. Her career is almost picture perfect, until one day something unforeseen happens. For reasons nobody understands, she suddenly deserts from her military duties and organizes an uprising against the very system she believed in so strongly before. She uses her insider knowledge of the military to take over a near-depleted and not very well-guarded mining facility on one of the larger asteroids. She starts her own society called the Pioneers, considering them the first independent nation in space, welcoming everybody who no longer wishes to return to Earth. Who is Sorin Jax? Saren is definitely the Star-Lord of our tale. He got sold on the mining company as promise of a secure job that will one day pay for his own house, family, and the license to have children. He put everything he owned into his training as a freighter pilot, but it ended up being a frustrating, underpaid job with unregulated work hours that left him with a mounting debt and no chance to ever fulfill the dream of a family of his own. So he decided to become a spacer. He stole a freighter ship and made a run for Juno Station, the home of the Pioneers, where he would finally be able to live free, far away from Earth and all its restrictions. He knew he would never see the sun rise in Earth's blue sky again, but at least he could now be who he wants to be and have the family he wants to have. At least that's how it could have been, if he hadn't been caught and been sentenced to a life of forced labor on Vesta Station, the most infamous prison camp in the system. Who is Lyra Cynic? Lyra is a raccoon. That means she loves to stick her nose into everything that's none of her concern. She had a bit of a rough childhood due to a crippling birth defect and being the geek at school that everyone else always picked on. She is very curious, and instead of a regular job she decided to become an investigative freelance journalist, specializing on human rights and government issues. Of course she bit off more than she could chew. Of course it didn't end up well for her. Even though all she wanted was to make Earth a better place for everyone. But if there's one thing she'll never do, it's giving up. Alright, and that's it for our second episode of Behind the Scenes at the Pawpet Show. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you like what we do and you want to support us, please go to our Patreon page and maybe drop us a penny. Thank you. See ya.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Maybe you could explain why we're here in the middle of nowhere. and why we're taking walks.
Yes, there is a good reason for that. Basically, when we sit down to write, we have all these distractions around us. We have the internet, which is you guys, and everything around us can distract us from what we are actually trying to do, which is developing a new storyline. So, and our brains need oxygen. So we go out for walks, so we can just remove ourselves from all these distractions and come up with ideas, because we have no other choice, right? What are you going to do when you are out in a place like this?
What makes it so attractive to get distracted?
That's a good question.
Why do you have to keep yourself from being distracted?
Well, for myself, I can't focus. I just don't have this ability to focus. So I need a place that doesn't offer me anything to get distracted by, and that makes it possible for me to concentrate on one thing alone.
It's a pretty depressing place for a cemetery, actually. Not only that it's still beginning of the year and it's all looking pretty sad. There's the industrial area which goes right to the edge of the cemetery.
It's probably the only part of the city down here that they couldn't buy for their industrial complexes.
Yeah, I don't know how well you can see this on the video, but there's industry all around. That's pretty sad.
There's some kind of logistics company. On the other side is a camp park, which makes sense, very close to the cemetery.
Oh, the story is going to be so dark and depressing.